Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Royal Blue Podcast. I'm Ian Kroll, joined by the Echo's Everton FC reporter, Chris Beasley. It is Tuesday afternoon, and there is plenty of Everton transfer news to get through. First up, let's say hello, Chris. How are things? You all good?
Yeah, busy today. As you know, you've been with me already, haven't we? So yeah, plenty going on.
Yeah, and you've managed to pull yourself out of the hole that you fell into yesterday after that. Philogene, Billie Jean, Michael Jackson joke.
Yeah, if anything, I think it was poor Jones and a whole clan, but struggling to get out there. I think I floored him with that one. Yeah, nice banter there with the viewers. At least shows that they're paying attention.
Well, if you've got no idea what I'm speaking about or what Chris is speaking about, you need to go back and listen to yesterday's podcast with Joe and with Gav. And Chris made a terrible Billie Jean, Philogene, Michael Jackson joke, whatever you want to call it. How are we referring to him, Chris? Is it Philogene, Philogene?
Well, I think it'd have to be Philogene. Else my joke doesn't really work, does it?
Well, I don't think it worked anyway, to be honest, Chris. I don't think it worked anyway. Before we get into it, a little bit of promo. Your series, Chris, Goodison Park, My Home, featuring former Everton legends. We've now knocked up a few former players, and we've today recorded another one.
Yeah, a more recent vintage after having good old Derek Temple, as you said, 85 years young last time out. We've gone the other end of the spectrum. I had one for the more recent vintage, Leon Osman. We got that one in the bag earlier, so look out for that one. Obviously, Tales from Aussie, from playing under David Moyes and Roberto Martinez, of the Premier League era, and all his great goals, including Larissa, of course. He talks us through that one, and all those magical moments for a player who actually obviously was in the Everton top 10 appearances. He's level on with Dixie Dean on 433 games, which isn't bad for someone who didn't start his first game till he was nearly 23. So yeah, plenty of great tales from Aussie.
Yeah, an incredible Everton career, to be honest. And we couldn't get him into the Royal Blue studio, unfortunately, but you did do a remote podcast, and obviously that will be out on YouTube at some point, and also across our social media channels. Across our podcast channels, Apple Pods and Spotify. So keep an eye out for that one. We are aiming to get that one out at some point by the end of the week. And if it's not at the end of this week, it will be early next week. So like I say, keep an eye out for that one. So Chris, we are live on YouTube. Plenty going on today. For anyone watching live, sending your comments as per usual, sending your thoughts, opinions, and your questions are very much welcome. As always, we love the interaction and we appreciate the support. And give us a subscribe and give us a review, as well as on Spotify and Apple Pods. Anything below 4 stars we don't accept, but we will appreciate any support that you give us. The agenda, obviously, plenty going on today. If you've been on social media, if you've been knocking around a few Everton stories, plenty on Branthwaite, plenty on Jaden Philogene or Jean, whatever you want to call him. I'm sure it will be, his name will become apparent at some point. But Chris, last night Manchester United launched a new bid for Jarrad Branthwaite, which we understand was rejected out of hand by Everton, and then another transfer tale has taken another twist. Jaden Philogene from Hull City. Plenty of twists and turns already this morning.
Yeah,
and this afternoon, and we've got updates on that as well, haven't we? So we are going to get into that. Plenty of updates for you over the next half an hour or so. First off, Jarrad Branthwaite back at Finch Farm, which is the main thing. A picture surfaced of him online today at Finch Farm.
Yeah, we were told yesterday the majority of the players went back for day one at Finch Farm. The bulk of the squad who weren't involved in internationals over the summer, and we were told that Branthwaite, obviously, given that he was involved with England, albeit very briefly, a lot more briefly than a lot of Evertonians would probably have imagined. Just that half an hour run out against Bosnia and Herzegovina in the pre-Euros friendly at St James's Park, but he had an extended break along with the other internationals, so the likes of Idrissa Gueye with Senegal, Vitaly Mykolenko, Ukraine, Amadou Onana, who's been at the Euros with Belgium, and Jordan Pickford, of course, who's still at the Euros with England, got the semi-final coming up tomorrow against the Netherlands, so good luck to Jordan there. But yeah, because of that, we were told Branthwaite would was given extra time off, but obviously it wasn't specified out just how much that was. And there he was, just 24 hours later, albeit after a bid by Manchester United. He's back off his holidays and looking very much at home, smiling at the camera, thumbs up on the old exercise bike there, working on the fitness just 24 hours after most of his colleagues. So on the surface things, he looks happy. We keep getting told that Everton are actively planning to have Jarrad Branthwaite with them this forthcoming season, that historic final season at Goodison Park, and unless there's a mega offer comes in. And I certainly don't think you could describe the, albeit improved, offer of 45 million plus add-ons as being the kind of mega bid which would go anywhere near Everton's valuation of the player.
No, I mean, I think you're quite right there. It's probably is it an extra 10, 15 million on top of the first?
Yeah, about 10 million more than the first bid, yeah.
Original offer. I mean, you've touched on it there, Chris. We did speak about this last week. We said Everton were trying to almost draw a line underneath this whole, what is now becoming a bit of a transfer saga, isn't it? I think we also did suggest that we probably haven't heard the last of, Manchester United, despite them saying they're not going to go any higher. The timing of it speaks volumes for me. First day of pre-season training. Is this a ploy to try and unsettle Jarrad Branthwaite?
Yeah, it would seem so, wouldn't it? That especially given that, they could have come back in there and go, okay, all right, first bid was a bit of a Mickey take, really. Maybe we thought you were in a more desperate situation, before the end of June, before the end of the football financial year. Maybe you have a bit of a cheeky one in there and chance your arm. But, given that first bid was just rejected out of hand by Everton and it's given short shrift, in terms of where it came towards the players' valuation, and which we went through. Seems like old ground we're going through, but the Everton have based their valuation on the sort of money that United themselves have paid for Harry Maguire, sort of money that Fofana went through as well. Players like that. And so you're basically talking, without, Everton aren't going to tell us what their valuation of the player is, but reading between the lines, we're looking at somewhere in the region of £80 million. I mean, we keep hearing sort of external sources going on the lower side of that, saying, 75, 70, 65 keeps creeping down. But no, you give them, the information that that Everton are putting out there. I think, it's at the higher end of that sort of bracket. And why not? Branthwaite, with the premium on the left-sided defenders, English homegrown talent, I think that's absolutely right. So, yeah, United came in with that first offer as like a bit of a naughty one. And now just come back and just upped it by a little bit more. So, like you said, the timing of it, day into pre-season training, it's unsettling the play. It's not a serious bid. It's not a bid that I don't think that they would expect Everton to accept. But it's like they're playing a game here, and are they trying to get the player and his camp to push for something? And it does seem a bit of another sort of underhand move from United, because we've seen the way that they've sort of been briefing here, there, and everywhere. There are elements in the media who are going to sort of write supportive articles on their behalf. But I'm sure if I was Everton now, I'd want to be putting out a strong sort of statement and saying, obviously, either hands off or get real, because I think we were talking about Dominic Calvert-Lewin yesterday, in terms of Everton potentially having a cut-off date, one way or the other, of the way they were going to go. Maybe they need to do this with Branthwaite, because you don't want to be going late into the window, because even if you were to get anything approaching that sort of money that they would be expecting, it's no good getting it late in the day when you can't actually do anything with it.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about that, haven't we? There's almost got to be a deadline before the actual transfer deadline at the end of August. I mean, I've seen a couple of fans, to be honest, saying Everton should put out a statement after this second, again, derisory offer from United. £50 million at the end of the day is still a lot of money, but it's obviously not what Everton and value Jarrad Branthwaite at. It's nowhere near what Everton value Jarrad Branthwaite at. So, Everton have been strong. The ball's in their court. I don't think you can fault anything that they've done, but has there got to come a time or a point where Everton do put a statement out directly aimed at Manchester United and their hierarchy and say, we're not going to deal with you at any point during this summer transfer window with regards to Jarrad Branthwaite.
I'd like to see that, and whether that's done directly, if it's, if the likes of ourselves and other members of the media might be briefed on something, or maybe getting a steer on something, whether it's done that way or whether it is done directly, which they did do. There is a precedent for this. 11 years ago, we've talked about this before. United again, actually. Marouane Fellaini and Leighton Baines. They ended up, I think United offered about earlier in the window, because obviously David Moyes had just gone there, 28 million for the pair. Everton said at the time, that is derisory and insulting. They went on the record with it, and personally, I'd like to see something similar now. And obviously, it was proven by the fact that just before the window closed, United ended up buying Fellaini alone, and obviously got nowhere near Baines for just like 500,000 less than what they'd offered for both players earlier in the summer. So yeah, I'd welcome something like that. Whether it was done through an unofficial, off the record briefing for someone in the media like ourselves, or whether they went one step further than that and actually issued an on the record statement.
Yeah, I mean, I try to look at it from both points of view. Obviously, we're from the Everton side, but I was speaking to one of the very few Manchester United fans in our office, who we're not allowed to name, but we will say there is a Manchester United fan in our office. And briefly before we came on here, there, Chris, I said, what you think, and he just said it's a negotiating ploy from Manchester United. It might come across as derisory, but at the end of the day, it's a ploy to obviously get the best deal for United. But again, as we've also mentioned, it is a ploy to try and unsettle a player, for that player to force a move. So can you see it from Manchester United's point of view? The only thing I would say about that is United are obviously still going to want to try and save a bit of face with regards to this. Yeah. Do you see at any point over the next couple of weeks United's starting point of 35 million then jumping to 75, 80 million, which is obviously what we're suggesting Everton value him at?
It's a bit of a leap, isn't it? And then it sort of go against the way that they've been. You can see obviously why do it, but on the one hand, perhaps they're thinking that they look like they're negotiating clever, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe's coming in there being more prudent, but they could risk totally alienating Everton, like you said. They just keep messing Everton about, keep putting in ridiculous bids. So Everton could, whoever, because the players, the player has got another 3 years to run on his contract. It's not like Everton are sort of being backed into a corner here, or in a position like where you're with Dominic Calvert-Lewin and you're like, well, do we cash in now? Well, we can't. If anything, Jarrad Branthwaite stays for another season at Goodison Park, that historic final season at Goodison Park, which we're all looking forward to. I can only see his value going up. I think personally it'd be good for the player's development. He's got the world at his feet, and if he continues on his current trajectory, he if anything, we know Manchester United in terms of as a club is one of the biggest clubs in the world, but they're certainly on the playing side not where they were in the recent past. He could go to better teams than Manchester United. And Manchester United, let's remember, who's only finished, was it 8th last year? No, they won the FA Cup, and say Ten Hag's job, he's extended a contract on the back of that. But this isn't Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United, the all-conquering Manchester United of the recent past. This is a Manchester United side that just finished 8th, and the manager was on the brink of getting a sack. I think there's quite a toxic environment, and I think for all the major issues we've seen at Everton in recent years, I think that the stability of Branthwaite staying alongside Tarkowski, Pickford for another season, having that final season at Goodison would be good for his development. And maybe in 12 months' time, Everton could demand even more for Branthwaite, and there might be, sort of, like I said, bigger teams, certainly better teams at the table.
I mean, the pleasing thing for me, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. You don't know what's going on in the player's head. You don't know the conversations he's having with agents, and the club itself. But do you think the club must be confident with regards to Branthwaite's mindset? Because surely we wouldn't have put that picture out of him in training looking as happy as he did. Yeah,
I'm trying to think back sort of a similar scenario with John Stones, whether there was anything that respect. Yeah, he didn't look like he was there under duress, did he? Wasn't it?
Thumbs up,
Yeah, he wasn't like Jolyon Lescott, if you remember that first game of the season at Arsenal. He didn't want to be there, and was that 6-1? Was it Arsenal at the end?
Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, he was. Whether he's putting on the brave face or no, he looked happy to be there. He relaxed. I mean, I've spoken to Jarrad a few times last season. He was always good for an interview. Good head, sensible head on young shoulders. You know, okay, he's a man mountain, but he's still very much a young man. And he looks like he seems when you speak to him that he's not one who necessarily would get his head turned. Of course, he's going to be highly ambitious. He's broken into the England team now. And in terms of, we might not like it on the Royal Blue podcast, it would be seen by most of the people in football as a chance to better himself, in inverted commas. But like I said, maybe he's got his chance actually to better himself further if he just waits another year and doesn't put him into that situation. It's an interesting one because from all the sort of things that we're hearing, we're being told that he probably wouldn't push for a move, but then if the move was presented, I think like all footballers, he'd be willing to move on, but it's not necessarily one that he would push for in a way that obviously we saw with Lescott in the past. And then, I mean, ultimately, even with John Stones, he ended up staying for another year. So hopefully Branthwaite doesn't rock the boat, and he certainly looks like he's happy enough.
Just go through a few of the comments. Gary Pring says Everton need to tell Man United to jog on. You can have Keane or Holgate for 25 million. That'd be the valuation for both of them, to be honest. I wouldn't mind taking that. The Blues on YouTube says we need to bid 25 million for Manu just to let them know. Emma has said, why would he force a move there? They've insulted him twice now with their bids.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting way of looking at it, because I've said before now, I'm speaking to various outlets, including ourselves, nothing I want more than Jarrad Branthwaite to be at Everton next season. I'd love it even more if he was there for the first year at the new stadium. But if I was Manchester United, I'd put myself in Manchester United shoes. I'd go and pay the 80 million for Jarrad Branthwaite because I believe I'd be getting a bargain. We've been fortunate enough to see him on a regular basis this last season, that breakthrough season in the Premier League, seeing some of the biggest and baddest strikers, and I mean baddest in, not the without talent. I mean, sort of real sort of streetwise strikers, and the way that they're all sort of bouncing off him, and the way he's not just a physical presence, but his assurance on the ball, and the way that he's come through, and we can see this is why Everton have got this valuation of him. So if United really do believe he is the future of the rebuilding process and this defensive kingpin who's going to sort of revive their fortunes, just go out and pay the money, because I said that I want him to stay at Everton, but if I was Manchester United, I'd pay it, because I think long term they'd actually be getting he'd prove an actual bargain for him, as long as he doesn't get an injury or something like that. If he continues on his current trajectory, I think our colleague Joe Thomas has even said that he tipped him to be a future England captain.
Yeah, I mean, it's I expect a lot of twists and turns with regards to this transfer. I just think, he seems content, whether he's fully fledged happy or whatever. I just think we've spoke about this in the past, but it's not like it's a Sir Alex Ferguson team. This team for Man United finished 8th last season in a bit of disarray. You'd expect the coach to struggle again regardless of whoever they brought in, because it just doesn't take one summer to turn things right. No. So it was a City, an Arsenal, or even like other teams who've been reportedly interested in Real Madrid. I just don't think you could blame them for wanting to go to those teams. Unfortunately, you're almost. From a United perspective, the offer is that low that they think they can get him for that low, and then when they do, or if they did get him for that low, it'd be like, we knew he was really worth 80 million. We've just got one over on you and stuff like that. Let's face it, we got that off for Rooney all those years ago. I don't care what anyone says. Even the full valuation, it was in instalments anyway. There's plenty of other players where we've kind of we've let ourselves down with and transfer valuations, but for this one, Chris, I just feel like Kevin Thelwell and the club are standing strong, and they're not going to take any crap, basically. That's right. That's right. They're in a stronger position now, like we discussed earlier in the week. Do you think Branthwaite sees that himself, though? Everton being in a stronger position, and sees a bit of positivity going into this new
Hopefully,
season,
yeah,
and obviously with the stadium as well. We're obviously saying stay at least for one more season.
Yeah.
But then even then, you stay for one more season, have another good season.
Yeah.
Who knows with the new stadium?
Yeah, definitely. They do seem to be, after all the doom and gloom that we've seen around Everton in recent times, there's a sense that it could be better times ahead now. Fingers crossed on the Friedkin group and the period of exclusivity they've got. Obviously, the fourth one on the Mashiri of the last couple of years. You don't want to see that one fall through, but just with that, the stadium. As much as we've debated, the goods and bads about whatever we think about Sean Dyche, if it wasn't for those 2 points deductions, they'd have been level on points for 11th place Brighton and Hove Albion. So hopefully they're looking at building, kicking on from that. Just hope there's a bit more consistency in the results, so it's not as much boom and bust as we saw last season. Yeah. But whatever way those points were accumulated, it was a huge improvement on the year before, and Jarrad Branthwaite was a huge part of that. So hopefully he sees that, and he sees that the positive strides that are being made at Everton, and obviously it's a two-way street, isn't it? But Everton obviously took a big chance on him. Obviously, firstly as a teenager from Carlisle United, only made a clutch of appearances for them in League Two, and then after he brought him back from the loan spell at PSV, installed him into the team early last season, and they're ultimately the team who's shown faith to sort of blood him in the Premier League. So hopefully he do at least one more year and see where that takes him.
Okay, well, final point on this, I'll just read out a comment. Dave Mack says, it's got Lescott shambles written all over it. Player virtually went on strike to force the move. I mean, so far it doesn't look like that is the case, but what is your gut feeling then, Chris? Is Jarrad Branthwaite going to be an Everton player come the close of the transfer deadline?
My gut feeling would be yes, but like we said, we don't know what could happen in terms of United coming back for him, but you're gonna push me one way or the other. I'd say that I believe that's what the club keep telling me. They're actively planning to have him there. So if you're gonna make me fall down one way or the other, would be my hopeful answer. But ultimately, Everton hold all the cards here in terms of if he is gonna go, it'll have to be for the price that Everton see as being fair, rather than one of United's derisory offers.
And I do think it is the other side of things as well, because United, okay, it might be a negotiating ploy, but United have started off so low that if they were to reach Everton's valuation of, say, 70, 75 million, even more, they are going to look like they've lost out, basically, and Everton have kind of done a number on them. We know that's not the case, because we know his true valuation. We've always got our blue tinted glasses on, and we know how other clubs perceive, other clubs and transfer values and stuff like that. So, I'm unsure whether United will go at this moment in time to that full valuation. But I also think his valuation's going to go up to another, 80, 90, if not 100 million come next season.
Yeah, and if anything, the way you look at it, probably 45 million now on what were we on, the 8th of July yesterday. 45 million on the 8th of July, in a way you could actually said was more insulting than 35 million in June, when there was so much still up in the air, whatever, and desperate to sell, wherever, and having to get somebody out the door. Now that they know Everton haven't had to do that, because they've
very good point,
they've done what Everton see as sorting themselves from a PSR perspective in terms of selling Dobbin and Ben Godfrey. Now that that's happened, and we're into July, and they know Everton aren't desperate to sell, so to only up it by 10 million, and if anything, that's probably you could deem in many ways more derisory.
The only thing I'll try and predict is that what are we now? The 9th of July, within the next 2 weeks. Again, this is just prediction, no insight. I wouldn't be surprised if an offer of around 60 million.
So it's in that sort of strange one, isn't it? It's probably less than what Everton want. But
so we will see if Everton stand firm there. But again, they've stood firm this whole time. Why not stand firm for an even higher valuation? And the worst thing that happens is you keep Jarrad Branthwaite in your team. Okay, that's the end of Branthwaite talk. We're going to talk about another potential Everton signing, or I'd say a different player that Everton have been linked with. So Jaden Philogene from Hull City. A lot going on with regards to this
Yeah.
winger
There's
today.
a lot going on just in the last couple of hours with this winger.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so many conflicting reports
Yeah.
with regards to what is going on. Agent posting pictures of him outside Finch Farm. I mean, if we had that clarified, whether that, verified whether that's real, I don't know.
That's him, all right, I believe.
Yeah.
But he was also at Barcelona's training ground last week, uninvited. So
I wasn't sure whether his
I don't
agent
know.
had gone off on one in Photoshop and was just trying to push.
That would be wild, but yeah.
So what's going on then? So
Yeah.
I believe we have had a slight update from the club with regards to this.
Yeah, it goes one way or the other, and Hull City. So let's start with them. The club where obviously he's currently an employee. Their chairman, who I'm not sure the pronunciation of his name, but I know he's known as the Turkish Simon Cowell. Make of that what you will. But he's said all along that he felt that Ipswich Town were favourites to get Philogene, and from Everton it sort of waxed and waned. Earlier today, I was told that this morning that the player wanted to join Everton, but they were one of a number of clubs to have a deal in place. The other clubs being Ipswich Town, I believe, and Crystal Palace. Though there's also been, it's an interesting one, late interest from Aston Villa, which was the club he left last summer to join Hull City, and apparently they have some sort of first refusal clause, but they understood they would go with the player's wishes. So although in theory Villa could buy him back, they realised he doesn't necessarily want to go back to Villa, so they wouldn't sort of make him come back. So they add that to the mix. So this morning I was told that he wanted to come to Everton, but there was stiff competition for him. And then throughout the day, we've seen other outlets saying again Ipswich Town are the favourites, which in a way, no disrespect to Ipswich, it's a bit of a poor position for Everton to be if we've seen as if somebody might sort of clarify this, a straight fight with Everton, that to miss out to Ipswich Town, a team who just over a year ago did run amazingly well, but just over a year ago were in League One. So told that they're favourites. Alan Myers, who's very well connected, he's said, hasn't he, in the last hour that he understands that the player favours Ipswich now, and has said go figure. Yeah.
But there's no clarification on why he favours certain teams.
Well, there seems to be a bit of our colleague in Hull, who's obviously
from Hull.
Yeah, who's very obviously got the connections there to the Tigers, to Hull City. Now he seemed to be under the impression that Everton hadn't struck a deal with Hull, so maybe it could be a case that Ipswich had offered more than Everton, so Everton had been outbid, as it were. Yeah. But Everton are maintaining, certainly in their dialogues with myself, that they do have a deal in place. But either way, I said it's going one way or the other. But that last we heard, it wasn't looking particularly rosy, and it looks like maybe the viewers would like this, but my Philogene gag might have just been a one-off there. No more chances to use that one, because stuff that's coming out all the time with this one.
I was just trying to think of a Michael Jackson song to come back at you there, Chris, but it didn't come. I mean, the fee agreed apparently with Ipswich Town is £18 million. There's no words as such as what deal has been agreed with Everton with regards to that, is there?
No, but they seldom disclose the actual fees. My understanding that it was 16, but whether it's 16 or 18, whatever the fee was, Everton feel that they are maintaining they have got the agreement in place. But I just wondered why there would be a sort of a discrepancy of this. Sorry, just while we're speaking, not actually related to Philogene, more actually going back to the Branthwaite. It's our colleague over at the MEN, the Manchester Evening News, Samuel Luckhurst. He says Manchester United open to signing 3 centre-backs this summer. Offer for Lenny Yoro has been accepted and believed to be more than €60 million. Is
that the Leon guy?
Yes, but if that's the case, he might be saying open to Manchester United going to sign 3 centre-backs. I'm not too sure how they get that one around that one from a PSR point of view. So just interjecting on the Philogene stuff there, but just that one came straight up there. So I'm just wondering how that one might work. But yeah, going back to Jaden Philogene. I mean, he's obviously very exciting prospect. Obviously, there's that famous Rabona goal that he scored last season. But not too sure about what Sean Dyche should make of something like that. But Everton are targeting a winger, whether he ends up being the one or not. Obviously, they've gone in there for him. They've made the move. They think there's a deal in place. But we're hearing not encouraging sounds coming from elsewhere, including obviously Alan Myers, to be fair, is very well connected for Everton. So it's not looking too rosy, but who knows? It could change again while we're in here.
No, yeah, of course. I'm just trying to figure out Everton's stance in a way on everything. Obviously, they've put out that they have, made an offer for the club, which is, either being considered or being accepted.
Yeah.
It could be a case of it might be less money than what Ipswich have offered. So then it kind of comes down to the player because he might not want to go to Ipswich. But obviously then there's conflicting reports saying he does want to go to Ipswich. I mean, you got a lot of comment or a couple of comments in here saying it's a sad day when a player chooses Ipswich over Everton. But I don't know. For me, I don't feel it's as straightforward as just choosing Ipswich over Everton.
Yeah, that's what you wonder, don't you? Like I said, it would be quite startling, really. I know, like we said, Everton have had a torrid time in recent years, but that really would be a strange one if, like I said, if all things being equal, if it really was, a straight choice, it'd be a weird one for me, and I certainly don't think that's necessarily just wearing your royal blue tinted spectacles coming out with that one. So yeah, maybe there are other factors in play. Who knows? Certainly the way the agents carrying on, going here, there, and everywhere, you don't know, and it makes you wonder, as much as he's an exciting talent, get you off your feet, bag of tricks, all of that. Like if he's got all this other baggage with him in terms of the agent and his antics,
the agent is a red flag for me massively. And to be honest, he's already been to a number of clubs very early in his career. Again, that's another red flag. I mean, I'm not disputing his talents. You can, he's obviously been a very good Championship player. He was highly thought of at Aston Villa as well, but he still left Aston Villa and has ended up at Hull in the Championship. It's not as if he's managed to propel them to the Premier League. Didn't get to the
out in the playoffs.
Yeah, they got to the playoffs. So I know it's not always down to one player. He's obviously got some sort of talent, but for me, you want your young players to be able to stay, unless they're going out on loan, to stay in one particular place and develop in one certain team. So I don't want to say I won't be disappointed if we don't get him, but I'm sure there'll be quick developments regards to this transfer over the next 24, 48 hours, I'm sure. And we will see who comes out on top. We're not going to do a long one, just for those watching and listening, watching live on YouTube and listening to the podcast, just because it has been a very busy day. So I did say to Chris, how long have we done? That we would do roughly half an hour. Just to finish off then, Chris, 2 points. So we are also apparently interested, you mentioned this in your piece, in Watford's Colombian international winger, Yasser Asprilla, also on Everton's radar apparently. So if we don't,
Yeah, same sort of position, right winger. He's currently at Copa America with James Rodriguez. He's not had much of a look in there. He actually replaced James as a sub in one of the games, so not been on the pitch together. But another right winger, so the same sort of position, again coming from the Championship. Just got the 1 year left on his contract at Vicarage Road. Obviously, Sean Dyche has got good contacts there. He's both a player and a manager at Watford, and he might be a bit more of a cheaper alternative, given, like you said, he's like Calvert-Lewin, I suppose, going into the final 12 months of his contract, still only a young player himself, similar sort of age to Philogene. So there are other irons in the fire, but whether they're the same sort of level or not, only time will tell. But yeah, Everton are understood to be sort of prioritising that winger, whether it ends up being Philogene or not, because they're short of options down the flanks. Certainly, okay, Jack Harrison's come back, but with Dan Juma going back to Villarreal and Lewis Dobbin going to Villa, so could do with a few more options down the wing.
Nice to see Everton prioritising players which we've all said that needs prioritising. Basically, usually it's kind of like we need a striker, but we'll end up buying a right back or something like that. So it's refreshing and nice to see. Just finally, there was one line with regards to Dominic Calvert-Lewin that I think this came from the Athletic, to be honest. Manchester United have had internal talks about Dominic Calvert-Lewin. What those internal talks sounded like, or what was said, we don't know. But could you see Manchester United making an offer for Dominic Calvert-Lewin?
It could get even messier, couldn't it? A joint bid for Branthwaite and Calvert-Lewin. Maybe it'll creep up to 50 million for the pair. Yeah, that's the fear, isn't it? Yeah, I understand that. The Athletic, I've said that internal talks. The fact that him and Ivan Toney both in a similar sort of position last year in the contracts. No sort of anything imminent on the horizon in terms of extending their stay.
I think he'll definitely go.
So yeah,
Tony.
It's an option for them again for Sir Jim and the boys to do what they would see as a prudent move. But whether it happens, I can only imagine it be, like I said, if it ended up being a sort of a double bid for the pair of them, that'd be even more fume.
Okay, well, we just doing a short show today, and we just really wanted to get online, start a stream just to kind of give some updates and just to discuss really of what has actually been a busy day. Plenty more still to come on the Echo website. I mean, Chris, there's loads of stories with regards to what we've just discussed on the Echo website, isn't there? Joe's obviously been off, but you've been, writing away. So yeah, if you haven't already, go to the Liverpool Echo website and take a bit of time to read the latest updates. And we've also got a live blog running as well, which Chris and a couple of others have been inputting during the day when we get updates. So I think we will call it a day for Tuesday afternoon show. Please remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and also give us a share. And obviously, as always, leave a review on Apple Pods and Spotify as well. We're on Facebook as well, so give us a follow on that, which is Everton FC Liverpool Echo. I've been Ian Kroll, joined by Chris Beasley, and this has been the Royal Blue Podcast.